Hi folks, this is another video for those of you who are at home just to introduce some of the things we talked about in class. This is for chapters 15 to 24. The novel takes us to Bath, and I wanted to kind of introduce the characters there and just show you some of the settings where things take place in Bath. So the main character, these characters on this page are all sort of new to the novel in Bath. The main character that we see here at the top is Mr. Elliot. Mr. Elliot is the distant cousin of Sir Walter. He's going to inherit Kellynch, so his wife, whoever she might be, is going to be the next Lady Elliot. He's handsome, he's urbane, he's sophisticated. He likes Anne. They kind of joke and laugh together, and he seems to take a shine to her. So that's part of what's happening in this part of the novel. We also meet the Honorable Dowager Viscountess Dowager Viscountess Dalrymple, Lady Dalrymple, and her daughter, the Honorable Miss Carteret. These two are stuffy rich people who are sort of minor nobility, and you can see the Elliots really suck up to them. Sir Walter does everything to bow and scrape to them and be associated with them because they're even higher up than he is. Even though to Anne, she says they're nothing. They really have nothing to offer. And so I found two kind of rich-looking but plain-looking people from this era. Meanwhile, at the totally other end of the social spectrum in Bath is Anne's friend from school, Mrs. Smith. She married a man who died and left her broke, and she's also crippled by rheumatism, or it's not quite sure what. She's in Bath for the hot waters, for the hot water treatment. People would go there for the same reason they go to French Lick in the 19th century for the hot water. She's nursed by Nurse Rook. These two characters are very warm. Nurse Rook knows everything that's going on because she nurses people. And then the only other characters we really meet in Bath that we haven't met before are, we don't meet them, but we hear a lot about them, are Colonel Wallace and Mrs. Wallace. Mrs. Wallace has just had a baby, and Nurse Rook has been nursing her. So they're friends of Mr. Elliot, and so we hear about Mr. Elliot through them, and Mr. Elliot goes to visit them. So I wanted to show you some of these locations in Bath. This is a kind of a contemporary print from the 19th century of what Bath would have looked like from the hills overlooking it. You can see it's a hilly kind of town. A lot of these buildings would have been brand new in the last 50 years, and they're very elegant places to live. There are also elegant ballrooms there, and it was a very social scene. Especially over the winter, people would go and they would have concerts and dances and theatrical performances. So, in Persuasion Resources page on Canvas, I've put this Google Earth link that you can follow, and I just wanted to show some of these locations. So once it fires up, one of the things that's fun about Bath is that a lot of the places that Jane Austen talks about are still those buildings are still there. So what I've done is highlighted where some of these places are on a map of Bath here. You can see down here is Westgate Buildings, and up here is the Elliots' place in Camden Place. Now if I make this 3D, one of the things you can see about this is, as we come down here, let me swing this around a little bit, is that it's literally set on a hill. Let me see if I can tip that a little bit more. You can see that the thing is down at the lower end of Bath. Of course, this is where the old Roman baths are. This is not fashionable. As you get higher up in the town, things become increasingly fashionable. So you can see over here, this is where Colonel Wallace lives in Marlborough Buildings. We'll come closer to that. So here's Westgate Buildings, which is really not a fancy place to live, but it's also right next to the baths, so that Mrs. Smith can get there very easily. When we come to this place here, Union Street, is we have some scenes taking place here, and then later, or actually earlier, we'll see this shop in Milsom Street. This is the fancy shopping street. I think it still is. Let me put us down, plop down in the middle of Milsom Street here. And Mullins would be a shop right about here. This is the tea shop where they go in to get out of the rain and to wait for Lady Dalrymple's carriage. And then you walk up Milson Street, and of course it wouldn't have had all this stuff here. You can see it's got shops on either side, very fancy. Let me come back out. As you go up the town then, let's tilt this again. So this is from Milson Street, this is the way home for Anne. She'd have to walk up this hill to Camden Place. So Camden Place is where Sir Walter has moved, and it's as you can see, this is a set of townhouses. So these places are very fancy, and he finds that he lives in good style here. If we come over here to one of the more famous places in Bath, let's straighten that out again a little bit. You can see Mr. Elliot has a dinner engagement here, so he has fancy kinds of friends. And this, well, I've lost myself a bit here. Here we go. This is the Crescent. It's the Royal Crescent and the Circle are the most exclusive places in Bath, and Marlborough Buildings, where Colonel and Mrs. Wallace live, right next to that. You can see other people here live a little. Lady Russell lives in slightly less fashionable Rivers Street, and the Admiral lives in Gay Street, which is, I've lost myself, it's here somewhere. So two other places I want to show you. Across the river is where Lady Dalrymple lives, right here in Laura Place on this square here. So it's a very fancy location, but it's also a little bit outside the beaten path where everybody else is. And then when they go to the concert, one of the things that's interesting here is this is the upper assembly rooms. You can see it's still standing there. It's now a fashion museum. If I take you into the Octagon room right here, it'll take us in there. And you can go inside to look at the exact room. This is where, if you can see, this is the scene here that I've put where they're standing by one of the fires in the Octagon room, and Captain Wentworth comes in. And you can see it's not a big room at all, so the crowd is here waiting to go into the concert room. The concert room is right next to it, and I'll show you what that room looks like. So that room here has beautiful chandeliers. This is much the way it looked in the 1800s when Jane Austen would have seen it. It has, and contemporary pictures of it look exactly like this. It has this nice place for the band. So this is where Lady Dalrymple has her private concert. That kind of gives you a sense of the locations in Bath. Whoops, let me come back out. You can play with this and take a look at the different places and see what they look like. Kind of walk around Bath a little bit. It's really pretty much as it was, and you could still kind of imagine yourself walking up the streets and stuff. This gravel walk is where we'll have an encounter with Captain Wentworth later. So that's our introduction to Bath.